The first speaker comes from Copenhagen in Denmark. He's the CEO of the think tank that's called the Happiness Research Institute, beautiful name. And his name is Meik Wiking. And my first question probably will be if this is an artist name, because put a Viking with a mic in the hand on the stage and call him Meik Wiking, that's actually pretty cool, I thought. But anyway, we'll come to that. The Happiness Institute is not some kind of religious institute or community, but an organization that researches the sources of human happiness and consults nation leaders and companies on how to create social ecosystems that increase the quality of life. But we have now, our topic today is purpose. How closely is purpose related to happiness? And I think you probably come to that also in your presentation.
I will, but I mean, it's, as I see it, it's an integral part of happiness. And actually, you had the very first happiness researcher, that was Aristotle. 2,000 years ago, he wrote about happiness, and he saw the good life as the meaningful life. So do people have a sense of purpose in life? So it's one of the three main pillars we focus on in our studies, in the surveys. That is a sense of purpose, but we can also see that dimension, that pillar also affect the other dimensions we're interested in understanding. Mm-hmm. So it's an integral part.
Great, well then I think we should go into medias res, as you say, immediately and give you the stage for your presentation. Right. Thank you, Meik Wiking.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Florian. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be back in Tokyo, and it's a real honor to be on this stage. So, purpose is also a wide term, an umbrella term. So we also usually break that down into different components. We can ask people directly, do you have a sense of purpose? Do you have a sense of meaning in life? When you look back at the past and when you consider the future, do you think that's a positive view? And also, some people walk aimlessly through life. Do you believe that you're one of them? So that's one of the ways we can try to quantify and measure and break down purpose. So then we can start to see or ask questions like, which people experience a high level of purpose? And here we can use that annual measure from the Office of National Statistics in the UK that I mentioned before. So once every year, we have around 200,000 people in the UK ask questions around purpose. And we can see, and this actually comes a little bit back to what you talked about earlier, Florian, that when we look at age and purpose, it looks like there's a quite stable relationship with purpose in our 20s, in our 30s, 40s, and 50s. But then in our 60s and 70s, maybe we become better at start asking questions at what really matters in life, because we see a bump there for people across both genders in terms of an increase in the level of meaning and purpose, and then a rapid decline in our 80s. We can also see having connections, having relationships improves our level of purpose. So people who are married, people who are in relationships are on average happier, and they also have a stronger sense of purpose than people who are single and people who are divorced. We can see also what we do with our time also impacts our level of purpose. People who are students, people who take care of their home, their family, but people also who work have a higher level of purpose than people who are sick and people who are unemployed. Unfortunately, there is a global lack of purpose. If we look at Americans, only a quarter of them feel they have a strong sense of purpose in life. And that's unfortunate because, as I mentioned earlier, it's really strongly linked purpose with happiness. But we also see other benefits. We see people who have a strong sense of purpose are healthier, both physically and mentally. They earn more, they're more productive, and they're more satisfied with work. So if we look at health, there's a great study in the UK where 9,000 people have been followed over 8 years, 8.5 years, 10 months. And this group of people were on average 65 years. So when we follow them over almost a decade, unfortunately 1,500 of those people die. But then we can start to see who were those people in the beginning of the study. And of course, what predicts mortality levels are health choices. You know, what kind of diet do we have? Do we exercise? Do we smoke? And so on. Also, the health status in the beginning of the study, and those predicted mortality levels. But I think, interestingly, what also predicted mortality levels was a sense of purpose. So the stronger the sense of purpose, the lower the mortality rate. So purpose keeps people healthy. It adds life to years and years to life. We can also see mental health. If you have a strong sense of purpose, there is a reduced risk of developing different mental diseases, 2.4 less chance of developing Alzheimer's. Again, a study where we have followed people over time and controlled for different factors. Job satisfaction. This is from one of our studies. We've measured job satisfaction in more than 10,000 people across the Scandinavian countries, looking at factors like income, like colleagues, like influence, like purpose. And what we see is that purpose is the best predictor of job satisfaction in the Scandinavian employees. So for every level of sense of purpose we increase for people, we see also an increase in job satisfaction. That's the clearest correlation we could see across the data set. So for every point we increase the level or sense of purpose, we increase the job satisfaction by 0.42. And we could also see that if we increase job satisfaction, we also increase life satisfaction. For every point of job satisfaction, we increase life satisfaction by 0.5 point, more for men than for women. But that also means combined, then if we increase the sense of purpose, we increase job satisfaction, and that again increases life satisfaction. We can also see when we look at middle-aged Americans and follow them over time, look at their income levels, look at their net worth. If we start out with thousands of people and look at their net worth, and then look at their net worth 9 years later, we would expect to find an increase in their net worth. You earn more money 9 years later, you have also saved up more, so your net worth should be more, and it is. But if we control for purpose, we can see those people we followed that had an increased level of purpose also made additional, or had additional net worth 9 years later. So even if you don't care about happiness, even if you don't care about health, both mental and physical, and even if you don't care about job satisfaction, that's fine, then be in it for the money, right? Improve sense of purpose in terms of improving net worth and income. And that brings me to the last point I wanted to shed some light on is, of course, then if purpose is so great, then what can we do to improve the level? And I think this is actually the most fundamental and most difficult question that all of us can try and solve, because it is difficult. I think it is super difficult to harvest a sense of purpose and to cultivate a sense of purpose. I think everybody would love to, but it's very difficult to order on Amazon. And I think one of the ways we can do that is to move a little bit away from the notion of the development or the link between the pursuit of happiness and turning it around into the happiness of pursuit. I think a lot of us are looking for happiness as the aim, but instead it makes good sense to look at happiness as a byproduct of something else. So from happiness or pursuit of happiness to happiness of pursuit. Seeing happiness as a byproduct of something else. And I think I'm gonna end there so we have time for questions, but I think the key message here is we can measure happiness, we can measure purpose, and we can actually do a lot to improve both dimensions. Thank you.